an end.
There are most certainly people who want to see Tesla fail because it is an attack on the mainstream car industry.
Of course, the biggest impact that Tesla will have is not the cars that we make ourselves, but the fact that we show that you can make compelling electric cars that people really want to buy.
The government loan came with a challenging condition. To get the money, he had to first find a place to build his electric car. Tesla burned through $300 million since 2003. Elon Musk needed to get his Model S into production fast. Ever the risk taker, he took another giant gamble, purchasing a plant in Fremont, California, abandoned by Toyota.
The dream factory location for Tesla was always the NUMMI factory, which was a 50% Toyota, 50% General Motors factory. It's one of the biggest car plants in the world. It's a great location close to Tesla headquarters.
The reality is, for very little money, Toyota got an albatross off its books. From an industry perspective, it looked incredibly savvy on Toyota's part and incredibly naive on Tesla's part. Car factories are big pieces of sunk capital. To retool a factory takes a tremendous incremental investment.
The acquisition released the government funds to begin production. Despite the fact that Tesla had posted a profit just once since its founding, Musk took his company public in June 2010.
The smartest money in the world is betting on Tesla.
Not everyone was as upbeat about the company's future.
Tesla stock voted by Wall Street as the least likely to succeed.
You don't want to own this stock. You don't want to lease it. Heck, you shouldn't even rent the darn thing.
There hasn't been an IPO of a car company in America since Henry Ford, and that caught people's attention.
Investors ignored the skeptics. Tesla raised $226 million in its IPO. Musk now had the capital to get rolling on the Model S.
You just saw on his face this sort of just elation and this feeling like all of this suffering is worth it, and it's real now.
3, 2, 1. Liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the towers.
In 2010, after winning the $1.6 billion contract from NASA, SpaceX became the first private company to successfully launch and return a spacecraft from orbit.
So SpaceX was the first purely commercial ground-up development to reach orbit.
The first successful launch at SpaceX was an incredibly emotional time.
Falcon 9 Stage 2 and the Dragon capsule are now in orbit around the Earth.
I'm just wishing to any entities that are listening, please bless this launch.
3, 2, 1.
And 2 years later, in May 2012, it made history as the first privately held company to send a cargo payload to the International Space Station. Back on Earth, the long-awaited launch of Tesla's new sedan was also taking off.
It's time to start delivering Model S!
The Model S started rolling off the production line, although questions about range and service remained.
Let them go!
Not everyone was cheering. In a 2012 presidential debate, Republican candidate Mitt Romney blasted President Obama for the government loan to Tesla, lumping Tesla in with other financially troubled green companies.
You put $90 billion, like 50 years worth of breaks into solar and wind, to Solyndra and Fisker and Tesla and Enter1. I mean, I had a friend who said you don't just pick the winners and losers, you pick the losers.
But Tesla was no loser in the eyes of the automotive industry. The Model S was the first electric sedan to win Motor Trend's Car of the Year. Musk didn't have much time to celebrate. A few months later, the New York Times delivered a devastating review of the Model S. It reported the battery died on its test drive from Washington to Boston and published an image no CEO would want.
There was this sad shot of our car on a flatbed, as though that was the only outcome possible for such a drive. And that's just not true.
Musk went on the offensive.
And lots of people said, oh, you know, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, you don't battle the New York Times. And it's like, the hell with that.
The battle between the reporter and the renegade CEO ended when the New York Times public editor concluded the reporting was imprecise, but not done in bad faith. But the story didn't affect his bottom line. Remember that loser comment from a presidential candidate about the $465 million government loan?
It really feels good to have repaid the U.S. taxpayer. That's really what's important here. And we didn't just repay the principal. We actually repaid it with interest and a bonus payment. So ultimately, the U.S. taxpayer actually made a profit of over $20 million on this loan.
Tesla repaid the loan 9 years ahead of schedule. Never short on optimism or confidence, Musk made a stunning promise for the nearly $70,000 car.
We're guaranteeing that the value of the Model S will be no less than that of a Mercedes S-Class after 3 years. I am personally guaranteeing that value and standing behind that guarantee with all of my assets, not just with Tesla.
He has guaranteed free charging for the life of the car and has expanded the charging system across the country.
You'll be able to travel all the way from LA to New York just using the Tesla Supercharger network. And the Supercharger system is free. So it's not just free now, it's free forever. That's the Tesla commitment.
His commitment to customers has paid off. Since its IPO, Tesla shares were up more than 5-fold. SpaceX and Solar City were also turning profits.
And NASA's our biggest and most important customer, but almost 3/4 of our customers are commercial.
SpaceX says it has more than $4 billion in revenue under contract. But of all his companies, perhaps the greatest success was the one addressing the world's energy need. Solar City is now the largest solar service provider in the U.S. and has more than quadrupled in value since its initial public offering in December 2012.
Solar City has been very, very impressive. I mean, there are, thousands of people with panels on their roofs and lots of big offices. I believe eBay has Solar City panels. So it's having a very big, very visible impact on the world.
He really wants to change the world. And in Elon Musk's vision of the future, you'll have clean and renewable sources of energy feeding the grid, and all of our vehicles will run off that. This is really the future. It's something you want to tell stories about.
Elon has a self-confidence that is it's breathtaking. And it's especially breathtaking when you think about the things he's confident about. The idea that humanity is going to get to Mars. That not just humanity is going to get to Mars, but that he, in his lifetime, Elon Musk, will get to Mars.
Crusader or canny businessman. Named one of Time magazine's most influential people in the world, the risk-taking, multitasking CEO's estimated net worth was $6 billion in June 2013. Divorced for the second time, Musk splits his time between his 5 sons, his companies, and thinking about the future.
Just, is it significant? Really, the question is, are things I'm working on, are they really going to matter, or do they have the potential for really mattering?